Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you about our projects we started along with dyżurnet.pl team. The full name of the project is Typology of Images and Comparative Analysis of Pictures, the acronym of TOPAZ. The objective is coming up with an innovative algorithm allowing for telling neutral images from a child involving pornography. So the difference between these materials is that pornography material is penalized, and there's legislation for that. If it involves children. If we talk about children involving erotic picture or sexualizing pictures, they are not porn, i.e. they are not subjected to legal regulations. I'd like to thank Dr. Ethel, who has been a major inspiration, and also I'd like to thank Yoga Schultz's team for the report. Now about the scale of the phenomenon, there's some statistics for 2016 run by dyżurnet.pl contact point. In 2016 we had 1,825 incidents. This is not the number of pictures, but the number of addressees. Each address can contain several hundred erotic images. We have to bear in mind the context, including the context of production and the context of reception, with the image itself being in the center. The image includes a certain intention of the broadcaster, whereas the recipient can only interpret it. There is no real interaction between the broadcaster and the recipients, and they don't know about the purpose of the image. If there is a child erotic related image, matters start getting complicated because there's a real relationship between the broadcaster and the child, maybe because of blood relationship or maybe because of coercion. The child took part in the recording and the recipient knows nothing about the story of the child involved. Now, the context of reception, the intention of authors and the context of a child are natural features of the image. And then our TOPAZ project steps in. A research method is based on analyzing 400 pictures, which is a representative sample of the internet. We've analyzed the pictures with experts for some key features, most prominent aspects having a bearing on sexualization of a kid.
Thanks to that, we will devise a tool which will allow for every user to revert the process to automatically discover whether a given image fills the criteria or is a neutral image. Our research was divided into two parts. The first one was the category inspecting whether the right features are present on the image. And here we have used 6 panels while processing the categories. The features of the person, the position, the garments, etc., etc. There were about 50 questions to be asked here, or even more. But what is most innovative in our case is the fact that apart from checking whether a given image possesses a given trait or category, is the fact that every researcher would assign a weighted scale to every image, saying to what extent this trait impacted the erotic nature of the image. This allowed us to inspect hotspots on the image that were worth paying attention to, or whether we could be speaking about synergy of traits on the basis of a given image. This is a short summary. These are the results after the pilot stage of several dozen pictures. Take a look at the first chart related to the age of the people photographed. You see that there are most children up to 10 years old. And people get interested in children that are younger and younger. As Professor Quayle mentioned, we are mainly talking about girls and white children. This is an example of our weighted scale on a chart. One of the questions related to the uncovered body parts. Very often we rarely talk about complete nudity in the case of children. Very often we talk about children who are near nude. For example, genitals are covered or other sexual traits. It's important because that means that those who publish the photos are just below the line of illegality of material. At the same time, the material is quite attractive. As you see, every second picture. Okay, so most often children have got nude legs, the surroundings of genitals, which doesn't make the image pornography, and breasts or chest. So what is attractive sexually? Every second picture had such features, and our analysts estimated that that category significantly increased the erotic value of the picture. Now, I have very little time, so very briefly, another category, the question whether the child is posing for the picture, so whether they are aware of the presence of the photographer or whether the image is neutral, whether they know they are being photographed, or whether their facial expression and body position show that they were posing for the picture. So there were some orders to be listened to in the context of the presentation on the picture. We see that more than 70% of such pictures were pictures where children were posing, which makes us conclude that in the case of erotics there is total combination, because the photographer persuades the child to participate in the photo shoot in a specific way. They need to be sexualized because those who watch the photos will be attracted to that. The potential benefits at the end of the project. Perhaps that tool will be implemented in parental filters, like Google or Facebook use photo DNA for pornographic images. So far, children's erotics were not analyzed in that way. At the same time, that could constitute a list of guidelines for every organization that fights against the publishing and production of sexualized images of children. So we could, in a way, make the evaluation exercise uniform. We have used the word pioneer because so far we know no research has been performed in Europe of that type, no research that would investigate children's erotics. So we would like to have a scientific publication on that. We have concluded the pilot stage now. This was a very short review of what we have achieved. We assume that the project will have been implemented by the first half of 2018, when we will share our conclusions. That's it from me. Thank you very much.